Hey everybody. This video series is fucking killing me because Warcorpse's prose is awful. Fucking awful. A drunk 5-year-old who's simultaneously freebasing meth could write a more coherent, well thought out sentence with less typos and less grammatical fuck ups. I shit you not. Warcorpse I don't know if he's incapable of reading his own shit and going, yeah, there's a fucking typo. Or if he never reread the shit before he posted on fucking Amazon or wherever the fuck this book is sold. And just it fucking hurts me. So the book is kissing and shitting, which I'm pretty sure is spelled incorrectly because I think there's supposed to be two T's in shitting, but I honestly don't know, and I don't give a shit. The stars. I look at the stars today, and we're starting today on page 77.5. Whatever that equates to in an actual book. Because this is a fucking ebook. I don't think he could sustain, the cost of printing this shit out. So, we're going to start where we left off last time. And that is with Rush Limbaugh. Okay, so. Rush Limbaugh. Rush, you tubby bunch of fat fuck. Said with no fucking irony. If you don't know what Warcorpse is, he looks like a bloated corpse. And more to point, he looks like if Happy Cabby's bloated corpse fusion danced with Amendum, and then Brett Keane ejaculated on what came the fuck out of the demon womb between the two fusions of those motherfuckers. So, seriously. And, I'm not the fucking skinniest motherfucker. I'm not the healthiest motherfucker. But I guarantee you, I'm healthier than Warcorpse. And I'm pretty sure Amendum is fucking healthier than Warcorpse. And Amendum smokes constantly and eats cat food and shit. And he is somehow healthier than Warcorpse. Anyway, I'm getting off fucking topic. Rush Limbaugh. What the fuck? Rush Limbaugh, 4 decades. I'm assuming that's supposed to be 4 decades. Has been lauded by his listeners and viewers as the great American. Not only is he a great American, he may be the greatest American. That's a phrase that I have heard from his listeners over and over again. And you were fine with, Hulk Hogan saying that shit in the fucking 80s, that he's, great American. Rush, you're a great American, and/or, to a more extreme, you're the greatest American. Before I rip into this, I want to explain what the average Rush caller thinks a great American should be. The average listener of Rush's... is he typing this on a fucking phone with autocorrect? I honestly don't have a fucking clue. Think the great American consists of the following. First, he must be straight, which is really funny given the fact that you hate gay people because you throw around the word faggot so fucking much, Warcorpse. So. Second, he must be married because all great Americans are married, which again, you shit on women who aren't married, and you just shit on women in fucking general, so. You shit on gay people and you shit on women. The two groups who might, on a drunken fucking, tirade, might fuck ya. But you're just shitting on both groups. for whatever fucking reason. Third, this marriage must bear children because all great Americans must have children. Fourth, this marriage must last for all eternity because it is impossible for great Americans to ever get divorced. Fifth, this great American must be temperate and sober at all times, with a strong sense of moderation. Sixth, he must be a Christian and humble like Jesus, even though Jesus wasn't humble, but those are in a roundabout way the 6 things that most of Rush's listeners deem to be the tenets of a great American. How you would know this without reading his shit or listening to his shit, I fucking don't know. Most Americans have some of them. A few have a very few of them, and some have all of them. You missed a fucking word, Warcorpse. The sad thing is, Rush's listeners think he's the embodiment of them all. The truth is, the only one that's true is heterosexuality. The rest, not so much. Is Rush married at the moment? I think he is. At the moment, should be, comma, I think he is. However, it's not been a permanent thing for his whole adult life. In fact, there are several patches where he has been unmarried. He doesn't meet the 3rd criteria of a great American because he has no kids. He certainly doesn't meet the 4th criteria because he's been married more times than fucking Liza Minnelli. Who's also more talented than you are, Warcorpse. There's no chance in hell of him meeting the 5th criteria either. We've all seen his public fall from grace due to drugs and alcohol. I'll say he did quit doing drugs like OxyContin, but I know for a fact he still drinks. He said as much as on his radio program several times. 6, I think Rush is a Christian, but he is a Christian in name only. You're an atheist in name only. You're an anti-theist, if anything. The guy does not follow one single tenet that Jesus taught. Jesus said things like, be humble. Rush is the farthest thing from humble that can exist on this earth. Same with you. Jesus also famously said it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is, not that it is, for a rich man to enter the kingdom. And we all know Rush has megabucks. What staggers me even more than people calling him a great American great American and giving him a pass on almost everything they think it takes to be a great American. What staggers me is how he talks down to his audience and they just take it up the ass. Even though you, I'm sure, berate the fuck out of your audience, Warcorpse. But I'll give you a typical Rush call that's a summary. Summary as in, like, the season summary. Summer with a Y at the end, not summary as in SUMMARY. Of what I've heard more than once. Rush, you're on the air. Caller, thank you, Rush. It's an honor to talk to you, Rush. You're a great American. Rush, what's on your mind? Caller, well, I just want to put a new spin on. Rush, hey, wait a second. I can't turn my program over to a rank amateur like you. If you want further examples, just listen to his program on Friday. Every Friday he starts it off with This is Open Line Friday, the day when IL Rushbo turn my program over to you rank amateurs. What do his listeners and even peers think of this? They think it's great. His peers in conservative radio think it's the bravest thing ever done. That a man would turn his pure broadcast over to the unwashed masses and let them dictate the conversation. Rush should just be honest on Fridays and say, I'm turning... Also, there's his phrase, his apostrophe S, which is the possessive. I'm turning it over to you because I did no show prep. It's Friday, the weekend's almost here, and I've already started drinking. So guess what? It's your show today. Just to be clear, I'm not calling anyone to boycott Rush's show because I don't care. Obviously, you fucking do. If a bunch of conservative nitwits wants to be talked down to by some lard ass, again, motherfucker, he's older than you are, so, his metabolism might have gone through the fucking... to the shitter. Whereas you are just a drunk, loudmouth fucking shit stain, so... That's their business. They're wrong there as well. It's no different than liberal nitwits getting talked down by a liberal host. Talked down to? Anybody too stupid to think for themselves deserves to get talked. It should be talked down to. Val Kilmer. Well, what do I have to say about Val Kilmer? The answer is nothing. He had a career in acting, then he got weird and went away. Now have the common decency to stay away. Like, okay, so big fucking empty like this. I've mentioned the formatting before that it's just awful as fuck, but holy shit. Like, there's just big white parts of the page that aren't fucking used. And it's like... And then there's like an entire page and just like blankness, and then like the bottom 6 of the fucking page is used. Carson Daly. Where the fuck has this dude been? He's on Good Morning America, I think? Or he was on for a little bit. He was on top of the world in 2002, 2003. Then he got a little too old and the MTV robot chucked him aside, leaving him to rot on the street forevermore. Well, Carson, I won't say it was great and I want you to come back, because it wasn't great and I don't want you back. I'll just say your time in the spotlight was what it was. Ryan Seacrest, who's also, more fucking talented than Warcorpse. Ryan Seacrest, the last man standing on American Idol. Seriously, he's the only remaining person from season 1. I had to ask my sister that I don't watch. To ask my sister that... Fuck me. I don't watch American Idol. Okay, now that Ryan is single, will this douchebag please come out of the closet? We all know the truth. Sorry, well all know. You're missing an apostrophe. Know the truth, and there's no shame in it. It's 2014, be proud of who you are. Come on, Ryan, I predicted Clay Aiken after all. Okay. Abe Pagoda. Now, at first you think that I'm going to be picking on someone that's dead. Abe Pagoda must have been dead for 20 plus years. He played the old man on Barney Miller. He played the old man in The Godfather. You'd all be wrong. Abe Pagoda is still very much alive and with us. He's in his 90s, so I hope he's still lucid and everything. He did do a Snickers commercial a few years ago. I think he's still okay. I haven't found anything that would lead me to believe otherwise. But at that age, anything can happen. If he does still have the strength left, I would love to see Pagoda in 1 or 2 small roles before he signs off for good. Michael Moore, the fat king of hypocrisy and yellow journalism. The fat king of hypocrisy. The irony is fucking dead. The guy that says I stand with the 99% yet has more money than most of the 1%. He's also done documentaries about the 1%. But whatever. That guy that says I'm just like you people who live in the trailer park, yet I'm building a sprawling mansion in Michigan. I'm no different than the common everyday person, yet I made millions of dollars and millions more know who the fuck I am. It's bad enough that his documentary should be classified as yellow journalism. I mean, Michael Moore in making an honest, true documentary has about as much chance of happening as Roseanne joining Weight Watchers, or you joining Weight Watchers, or you becoming sober, or you being a decent human fucking being, or you getting laid, or getting married, or having a girlfriend, or not eventually putting a gun in your mouth and blowing your fucking brains out. It's not just me that holds this opinion. Every time Mike makes a documentary, there are how many other counter-documentaries that completely destroy the arguments he raised in his. I mean, how biased and bad do you have to be to have entire feature-length documentaries proving how you skewed things? I don't fucking know. Ask Ben Stein with his stupid fucking documentary, and you realize people just would make a documentary to make money off of Michael Moore without actually having to work with Michael Moore. But if your opponents only had enough for a 15-minute short, they wouldn't have much of a point. However, more than one has made feature-length documentaries to prove you wrong on more than one of your movies. So here's to you, king of the yellow documentarians. Here's to you. Rosie O'Donnell, you're not a celebrity anymore. Fuck off. She's more famous than you. She's got brand recognition. Everything I have to say about her when she was still relevant, I've said on my YouTube channel. If you'd like to check it out, Warcorpse 666. That channel's no longer available. Toby Keith. Toby Keith, the rumored backer of Jeff Jarrett's new wrestling promotion. If you don't know the name of the new promotion, it's Global Force Wrestling. If you never hear of the promotion, I won't be surprised. Despite what Jeff Jarrett has probably told Keith, this will be a money-losing venture. There's not going to be a wrestling boom in the near future, if ever again. The WWE is having problems right now, and it's the only major promotion. You know, New Japan, Ring of Honor, or fucking other places. Now, if the only major promotion is having problems, what chance would an upstart like Global Force Wrestling have? GWF, you just fucking said it was Global Force Wrestling, so how the fuck could you mess up GFW? It's not a major or minor promotion. I'm assuming that's supposed to be major or minor promotion. It's at the moment a glorified indie like Ring of Honor, even though Ring of Honor makes a bunch of fucking money working with Japan and, you know, working with TNA. And the other sad truth is that the indie promotions lose money, sometimes a lot of it. Toby Keith has over $300 million in the bank, so he's certainly got money to play around with. He's certainly... You should have said he certainly has enough money to play around with. How long would he go, one, losing his hard-earned money, though? How long would he go on losing his hard-earned money? Is that what it's supposed to be? Not one? It's going to lose money. Noticeable amounts of money for the first 5 years. At least. Toby is not that stupid with his money. He's not going to commit the necessary financial resources and hardships to get it on par with even TNA, even though they started to do a deal and then it disappeared. He's also not going to keep financially alive a promotion on the cusp of possibly wrestling's greatest drought. He's just not going to do it. He doesn't have the resources to weather the wrestling drought that's coming. If you don't know it's coming, then just look around you. So Toby Keith, do yourself a favor. If you back Jeff Jarrett's promotion, just understand what it's going to be. It's going to be a glorified indie. It might grow into something and you might reap the benefits, but it's going to take 10 years at the very least. Jeff Jarrett. Okay. Jeff Jarrett, a wrestler that's been around. A wrestler that, quite frankly, in my opinion, was way too far up on the card for his talent level. The only place where he was pretty much right where he needed to be was at WWE, not was a WWE. Jeff Jarrett's fans might be pissed with me. All 15 of them. It's more fans than you have. He's never been a major player, and he's not going to be a major eventor. What the fuck? I think he still thinks in his little Tennessee mind that he could be as big as Hulk Hogan. Minus the racism, at least. If he thinks he could build a promotion by himself, he's still drinking that Kool-Aid, even though he built TNA basically from the ground up by himself with financial backers. But the reason his Hulk Hogan... Wow, okay. The reason his Hulk Hogan in the ring was entertaining, Jeff Jarrett was about as exciting as an elephant giving birth. You know, that's actually more interesting than you. Now he's starting this new promotion called Global Force Wrestling, and there's nothing wrong with that, provided that he keeps in mind is going to be 10 plus years before this is anything other than a glorified indie. And what the fuck's wrong with indie promotions? Gives a shit. Also, it might be a drought in America, but New Japan, Dragon's Gate and Dragon's Gate USA, Ring of Honor, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and it's like Ring of Honor is owned by Sinclair Broadcasting, apparently, so it's a whole other fucking thing. He's betting on a wrestling boom. I'll assure everyone that there's not going to be one. And you're the fucking person, on the fucking... the fingers on the fucking pulse of wrestling and its popularity. For and JJ fan that's still drinking the Kool-Aid, I'll lay some stuff out for you. He's not a Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold. He doesn't have that very special it. It's not true. He has it. It's just different than Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold. The it that makes it so one guy by himself can build a wrestling promotion, even though Stone Cold or Hulk Hogan never did that, even though they supposedly could. So he'll need other people. The problem is, where the fuck is he going to get them? If he goes with indie guys that are young kids, that's great, but the second they're built into anything, he better hope the WWE doesn't still have its bag of money. If he goes with veterans, well, most veterans worth anything are now signing to the WWE in one form or another. The ones that aren't, nobody gave a shit about when they were in their prime or now. What's he going to have as the main event? Scott Steiner versus Buff Bagwell? Might be an actual and entertaining match. Oh yeah, you'll put a lot of asses in seats for that match. There are a lot of people who love Scott Steiner and Buff Bagwell, so... James Randi. I know this is impossible and childish, but I really wish James was a real wizard, so he could live for another 800 years. He probably wouldn't like me to say that, but I don't care because I really wish James Randi could live another 800 years, even though he's gay, and you don't like gay people. The reason is we need him for another 800 years. Fuck. As he calls them, what the fuck, the woo-woos have started to gain the ground that they've lost, and we need him to stop them. If you don't know who James Randi is, I thoroughly encourage you to check him out. I won't go into too much detail about the man because I don't want to spoil the treat of learning about him. Let's just say he is the foremost skeptic on the planet. He's a magician that shows people how most of these psychics and the like do their tricks. He's not, That's just scratching the surface of the amazing Randi. If you would like a good night's read his work against homeopathy. At least when James Randi passes on, his foundation will continue to do whatever it can to debunk the pseudoscientific BS. The mediums, the psychics, the clairvoyants, and all the other people who claim to possess supernatural powers will have their challenger, the James Randi Educational Foundation. If you can, I encourage you to donate to the worthy cause. It is a 501c3 charity, so your donation is tax deductible. To all of you that believe in the psychics, clairvoyants, and jerk-offs like John Edwards, then I have a simple point to make. The JREF has for years offered a prize of $1 million to anyone who can provide proof of supernatural ability under test conditions. Simply put, they say they will give you $1 million to do what you claim you can do. But a lot of people make more than that as a fucking woo peddler. But so in the space of 30 to 45 minutes, you can be a fucking millionaire. Why are people not beating the door down? Maybe they don't want to jump through the hoop of an old piece of shit. It's possible. That is a shit ton of money for very little work. People have tried to claim it, and guess what? Each and every one of them has failed. That's also something else to consider to those of you who believe in psychic powers, specifically the ability to read the future. Why is it that with all the headlines he read, Leno never once read Psychic Wins Lottery? So go, James Randi. Please keep on with your efforts to drag the human race kicking and screaming into the 21st century. I would just like to say thank you, even though he's been doing this shit longer. It's fucking... Okay. Dr. Phil. Dr. Philip McGraw, when the Queen fell, the King took over. He's a new daytime afternoon talk show host that bored housewives watch while they suck down a box of wine. Which apparently is bad, but you drinking, mass amounts of beer is fine. His psychological help, and I hesitate to use the word help, is nothing more than folksy homespun wisdom that 1,000 others have said before. He doesn't delve deep into the psychological issues of these people. It would not be prudent to do that shit on national television because that's not how you would help someone. He doesn't even treat them himself. Idiots, most likely paid, go on there and whine about generic safe problems. Dr. Phil gives them some dumb, stupid chicken soup for the soul claptrap bullshit. A copy of his book, and then sends them to a real therapist to get real help. Which apparently is a bad thing. As of this writing, I don't know if there's a disclaimer on his show that says that show is not a substitute for real psychic help. Psychic help? Psychological help? If there is, please let me know. At least with television, most people forget whenever they see or hear about 5 to 10 minutes later. Like you. Especially, like I said, when it's daytime talk show that most of the people watching are half drunk. Like you. He writes books, not just any books. Oh no, self-help books that rack up the bestsellers list sit there forever. His books are supposed to make great big problems as easy as 1, 2, 3. His most famous one is 7 Simple Steps to the Weight Loss, or something like that, making it seem like anyone can lose weight as simply as doing Jesus Christ, as doing at load of laundry, which is supposed to be a load of laundry. Well, let me tell you something about weight loss that Phil McGraw doesn't want you to know about, but I know about. I'm somebody who has at times struggled with weight loss. You struggled with a lot of shit. Except I know the fucking truth of the matter and the real secret behind weight loss I can articulate in a minute. All of those types of books of 7 steps, 10 steps, or purpose-driven whatever are all 300 pages of fill or nothing more. When people write those books, how hard a simple truth into one big steaming pile of book. Most of them go with setting simple goals for yourself. Really, anyone over the age of 5 needed a whole book to figure that out. The problem with your overly simplistic approach is that it dooms most people to failure. Of course, let's not forget that self-help books aren't about help. They're about selling the most copies. I mean, how many of these fucking books are sold? If Phil did his job, he wouldn't have needed another book. Yet how many millions upon millions of copies of books has Dr. Phil sold? If his books were any good, shouldn't one be sufficient? Even though people aren't. Well, here it is, the real secret behind weight loss, and I won't need a whole book to tell you. The real secret behind weight loss, or improving your life, or being more confident of what the fuck ever, doesn't require 300 pages of fucking filler. It requires a couple of paragraphs. For weight loss, it's eating less and exercising, which you apparently don't fucking do. And that is it. That is all. If you eat less and you exercise, you're going to lose weight. It's going to suck, by the way, too. I know I love to eat. You also will not accomplish this in 7 weeks. You will have to accomplish this over about 7 months. Well, if you also, exercise. And if you exercise a lot, you can actually get thinner. At the end of it, though, you will lose weight. You will be thinner, and you will feel fuck of a lot better about yourself. Yeah. Self-confidence is slightly trickier, but doesn't require 300 pages. If you like more confidence, simply do things that you were afraid of. If you're afraid of heights, let's say, go on a roller coaster. It's a nice, safe experience to help you therapeutically get over your fear of heights. Yeah, okay. Psychologist Warcorpse. Fucking. Then move on to small rock climbing. Then move on to see the looking down from a tall building and when you're finally ready climbing a mountain with your friends. Then you realize you've conquered your fears and you can enjoy all the confidence that comes with it. If it's meeting new people, start out with my old buddy, alcohol. Wow. He's an old buddy. Then after a while, you'll have the confidence to meet some new people without the booze. Almost every problem is like that. It starts up with baby steps, and you get better and better. Then what the fuck's wrong with you? The idea is that you can suddenly be this transformed new person by simply reading some balding fuck's book is laughable and ludicrous. If it were up to me, I would say anybody who writes these types of books doesn't deserve to get the title of doctor in front of their name. Fuck all the schooling that he did to get the doctor in front of his name. I often wonder what Phil McGraw is a doctor in. Remember, dear friends, it's not just in medicine that people get to be called doctor. Almost every single area of study has a doctorate degree. They had to call the highest degree something. Remember that there are a lot of pretentious middle school principals and teachers that insist they get called doctor. You can get a doctorate in theology, for Christ's sake. So I just wonder what Dr. Phil McGraw's doctorate is in. I'm sure, to be fair, that it is in psychology. The reason I wonder is he sees things as black and white, and I would hope that a doctor that deals primarily with a person's mind would see more shades of gray. Right fucking back at you. Tiger Woods. Tiger, the once mighty god of golfing, that's fallen from upon high on Mount Olympus to the point where he can barely qualify for tournaments anymore. It's kind of interesting to see a fallen champ when he should be in his prime. He's already playing like a washed-up ex-champ. What's it going to be like when he gets to an appropriate Jesus Christ, age for washed-up ex-champs? He'll probably be back on the mini golf course. I don't know what caused the fall for him. It can't be because he cheated on his wife, because then there's a period. If that was the factor, no NBA career would get past the rookie year. could be all the sponsorship deals, but lots of athletes have them and they do just fine. Possibly that has been known to happen to one star athlete or another. It might be like what's going on in MLB. In the MLB, the pitcher trains too hard when he was a kid, hit his prime in his 20s, and then by 30 is done. I figure golfers would have a longer career. They don't seem to have injuries as part of their gig. I could be wrong, though. Whatever the reason, Tiger, if I were you, I would take 2 years off and train because whatever you had, you lost. Dixie Carter. Just how long will it be before Dixie's parents pull the plug on TNA? Then the little princess will have to deal with something she's probably never had to deal with in her entire life: failure. The only reason that TNA exists is because of Panda Energy, the multi-billion-dollar energy conglomerate that her mommy and daddy own. Dixie has so far has not made a damn dime herself. The money she got to buy TNA, she got from Daddy. I can see it now. He's sitting there in his study sipping a nice brandy when Dixie walks in and says, "Daddy, buy me this wrestling company." And, let's ignore Jeff Jarrett starting TNA alongside his own father, who's also a promoter. When she had total spending control, she spent enough to actually affect a multi-billion-dollar energy conglomerate's finances. Without her parents, Dixie's spending would have bankrupted that company in 5 minutes. Kind of shows what most people know. Dixie doesn't know the value of a dollar. She's also not a wrestling promoter. I wondered for the better part of a year, how in the hell could TNA afford all these A-listers? The simple fact is they couldn't. Now her mother's taking the financial reins and it's doing a little better. I still don't think that it's self-sustaining. They got bought out by Anthem, let alone anywhere near the profits margin that the WWE has. The wrestlers are not getting paid on time. In fact, no one's getting paid on time. The popularity of TNA right at the same level as crotch rot. I mean, they book baseball stadiums that are supposed to seat 5,000 and they draw 75. Any stars they had a couple of years ago are gone. The new stars they would have had for the future are gone. The company is a shell of its former self. It looks like it's ready to die. So way to go, Dixie. You are a savvy businesswoman who took a company that might have had a chance and you made sure to fuck that all up. It's not all your fault. Your mom and dad never taught you the value of a dollar, and you got into something because you wanted to be on TV, even though she wasn't initially on TV, I don't think. You wanted to be famous. You weren't smart enough to hire someone that happened to know what the fuck they were doing, and so TNA is waiting to die. Which to me is really funny, given the fact that, again, it was started by Jeff Jarrett, and then, he brought in Vince Russo. Vince Russo got fired because of all the bullshit finishes and a bunch of other shit. Okay. If TNA is around in 2020, I say this for all to read. If TNA is around when the first flight of 2020 dawns, I will drink 3 cans of Guinness. If you watch me on YouTube, you know how much I hate Guinness. Because it's actually good beer, and you like drinking piss water instead of beer. And it's actually, as of this recording, 2017, so we're 3 short years away from you having to drink 3 cans of Guinness. And, while the company has changed names to Impact Wrestling, it's still TNA. And it's owned by Anthem, so. Jim Cornette. I have a love-hate view of Jim Cornette. As many good points he has for the business of professional wrestling, he also just as many bad. I'm one of the few people that see him as both a savior and a destructor of it. I think he could keep the flame alive during this long period of drought that's going to be happening, or most likely stand by and watch it go out. What I love about Jim Cornette is the fact that he is the best at training new talent in the ring. Okay. That's bullshit. This guy knows how to take your young talent and mold them into stars. Jim knows how to make the magic in the ring. He knows how to nothing... Fuck me. He knows how to nothing into something. To turn nothing into something? Is that what you're going for? He was one of the few guys that can take raw talent and mold it into John Cena. Jim Cornette is also one of the best at taking a whole promotion from nothing and turning it into something. All that nice stuff being said, Jim does have some drawbacks. Jim is terrible in this day and age of getting the big payoff. He knows how to build a feud, but his ideas for getting the feud to pay off are outdated. His idea is just to take the top bad guy, beat the piss out of all the good guys, have the top good guy beat the shit out of all the bad guys, and have the two meet at your big event. That doesn't work anymore. It's not 1973, it's 2014. And it's actually 2017 at the point of this recording. His aversion to hardcore wrestling, which I agree with in part, is old-fashioned. I don't like it just to be about seeing which guys go through what shit. However, hardcore wrestling does have its place when used properly. Another outdated idea is the idea of faces not being able to hang out with heels and vice versa after the event is over. Like when the boys are just at the bar. It's called kayfabe, you fucked stick. Which is actually not a thing anymore. Like when the boys are just at the bar. The idea is another outdated misanthrope from the way back. It's 2014. We know the fucking thing is a performance. Kids probably don't. Maybe they do. A lot of them don't. These guys don't really hate each other. They're just pretending they hate each other. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. There are people who genuinely fucking hate each other. The last thing he clings to that I think is a detriment is trying to present wrestling as a serious sport. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't take athleticism. I'm not too saying it doesn't take talent, and I'm not saying it doesn't fucking hurt, but it's not a sport. Sport implies that it's a non-predetermined ending, and wrestling is predetermined, or in other words, fake. Jim still wants to try and present this as a sport like MMA. Oh, they're Japan. Japan is where wrestling is almost like MMA. Obviously, you don't watch, New Japan or DDT Pro or Michinoku Pro or Dragon's Gate or Pro Wrestling Noah or even the Indies where there's a lot of shoot kicking to motherfuckers' back, head, neck, leg, Although, I guess DDT Pro is actually more comedy than serious, but wrestling can't be presented like that anymore because everyone outside of somebody living on a fucking desert island knows that this is as fake as a movie. He needs to accept that. Again, it's fake, but, people get injured just like sports and, not beat them over the head with it like the WWE, but a little wink is okay. Like I said, I have a love/hate thing with Jim Cornette. I think he's both good and bad for the business. I'm somewhat sad to see him out of the business. I still think he has a lot to offer someone or a new promotion, but he's retired for lack of a better word. How long he stays that way is another mystery. I think he cited his health as the reason. I also heard it was because he wanted to work on other things. Whatever the reason, I wish him all the success and health in the world. I would recommend checking out his podcast and shoot interviews. They're entertaining, as always. Helen Hunt. Helen Hunt gets one fucking paragraph on one fucking, on a fifth of the fucking page. Format, motherfucker. Do you know of it? Probably fucking not. Helen Hunt, she's got one hell of a roller coaster movie career, doesn't she? 1 minute she's up, the next minute she's down, the next she's up, the next she's totally irrelevant. 1 minute she's everywhere, the next minute she's nowhere. Well, at least people still know who you are, unlike Paul Reiser. Kevin Costner. This guy has to be the undisputed master of roller coaster careers. The reason is he's never stopped acting. He doesn't go on these long, prolonged breaks from the silver screen. 1 minute he's a star of a moving epic shot by a multi-million-dollar studio. The next minute he stars in a piece of shit sci-fi movie that everyone would rather get their balls ripped off than watch. Then he makes another masterpiece and follows it up with an even bigger pile of shit, finally ending up in a Jack Ryan movie. Do you know who actually writes Jack Ryan as a character? I'm pretty sure it's Tom Clancy. He's a good actor that makes some odd movie choices. At least he's good enough to bounce back. I mean, if you were the star of both Waterworld and The Postman, you should be done. The only reason I can come up with for doing those movies is he never grew up. That the sci-fi and historical flicks were just bigger and sandboxes for Mr. Costner to play in. If he was a little better with his choices, he'd have never left the A-list. Then again, it might just be as simple as he likes the roller coaster, building it up and knocking it down just to build it all over again. God, we're over 100 fucking pages into this clusterfuck. Got like 47 fucking pages left. Michael Jordan. You have to be the only athlete in the history of the world to make far more money in retirement than he ever diff playing. Learn how to fucking spell check. It just never fucking stopped for you, did it? The endorsement deals, commercials, and everything else you slapped your face on. Then to top it off, you now own your own NBA team. I don't think it's kids who should be singing. If I could... What the fuck? I don't think it's kids who should be singing if I could be like Mike. It should be every single current player in the fucking NBA. Sean Penn. You know I was going to bring up how Sean is one of the biggest fucking hypocrites in Hollywood. Mr. Worry about world peace and violence yet had 60 plus guns in his home. Those aren't mutually exclusive ideas, by the way. I was going to bring up how he's another celebrity. How the fuck do you fuck up the word celebrity? Like, dick face that thinks a photo campaign like Real Men Don't Buy Girls is going to do a damn thing. However, he's not alone in that. I'll leave shit like that for another day. I just want to talk about Sean Penn's attack on what I believe is America's most sacred right. I don't use the word sacred a whole fucking hell of a lot. Fucking. Not fucking. Fuking. He's missing the C. Of a lot, because I don't believe in the divine, and that sort of cuts down on what can be sacred. However, I believe a few things are sacred, and one of them is the freedom of speech. In 2010, Sean Penn called for the arrest of anyone who referred to Hugo Chavez as a dictator. Stupid. I'll agree with that. I don't know if he was referring to the people of the world or just people in Chavez's country. I really hope that he wasn't referring to fellow Americans. For the purpose of this, I'll just say that he was referring to fellow Americans. If he was shown, I hate to break this to you, but you're still an American. One of the things that's most sacred to us is freedom of speech, fuckface. And you obviously don't understand that freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom of consequence, because you've been bitching ever since your fucking channels have gotten taken down. About your channels getting fucking taken down. And you obviously think, you think you're a gay person in the scenario between, like, I shit you not, on fucking Twitter. Which, you should read his Twitter. Don't follow him. Just read his Twitter occasionally, and you'll see golden horse shit. And just, it's fucking magical. It really fucking is magical. It's just like, he brings up the Masterpiece Cake Shop because his Big Man Productions channel got taken down for violating, presumably, the terms of service. And he's like, you guys should better hope that, fucking Masterpiece Cake Shop wins in the fucking case against the U.S. government. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like a fucking, because people are like, YouTube has every right to fucking block you from using, just to take your channels down if you violate the terms of service. And it's like, well, how's that any different than a fucking Christian bakery not serving gay people? It's like, well, because one, gay people aren't doing anything to break the rules, and they're not being assholes, and they just want to get a fucking cake made. Whereas you're being a virulently hate-filled cockstain who has violated the terms of service of the fucking site that you're using. You don't have a right to use YouTube if you violate the fucking rules. Okay. Anyway, going back. One of the things that's most sacred to us is our freedom of speech, fuckface. I don't give a shit if Chavez was your buddy, friend, family member, or a guy who sucked or fucking... I'm assuming that's supposed to be your fucking dick. Every time you seen each other, you saw each other. That's what it should be. Each other, freedom of speech trumps it. That freedom doesn't get suspended just because the motherfucker is dead, by the way. I have the right as an American citizen to write or say anything I damn well please about of Hugo Chavez. I don't know much about Hugo Chavez, so I won't comment on whether he was a dictator or not. You could literally just Google this shit. I don't know whether he was a good leader or not, so I won't comment. There are people that might feel he was a dictator. Whether or not he was or not doesn't matter. We as Americans still have the right to say it. I hate to burst your bubble, Sean, but Americans can say damn near anything without fear of reprisal. That's not true. Now, that means you may get pissed off at people saying things about Chavez that you don't like. However, they cannot be arrested, you liberal douche bag. That's the way we roll in America. What gave you the right to criticize George Bush, and the war gives anyone else the right to criticize you, Hugo Chavez? The fact that he's dad is irrelevant. There are a lot of people I don't like to hear speak either, Sean. I generally can't stand it when I hear Sean. I feel dirty when I get a hand job Hannity talk. I was happy when Fred Phelps died. I can't stand anything Ingrid Newkirk has to say. Feminist frequency usually sends my blood to a boil with her bullshit arguments. Yeah, bullshit arguments, even though you can't. Your arguments are actually worse than her fucking arguments. Here's the thing, though, Sean. I would never support any attempt to censor or to curtail those people speaking as they see fit. That's just out and out bullshit. You're not going to try and curtail them, but you'll harass the shit out of them and try to force them off a platform that you're on. It's not trying to censor people, I'm just harassing people. It's just not the same fucking thing. Meandering douchebag. They have the right to spew out whatever in the flying fuck they want, no matter how stupid it might be. The fact that you're an American and you don't understand how important freedom of speech is quite frankly sickening. Just put a comma there, and freedom of speech is quite frankly sickening. I know you don't live in the normal world. You live in Hollywoodland, but you still should be able to remember that. Haven't some of your movies have been controversial? Haven't some of your movies been controversial? Question mark. Not a fucking period. Without the freedom of speech to protect you, they may have been shut down and you may have been subject to arrest. Weren't there some people pissed with your portrayal of Harvey Milk? Freedom of speech is the same right that protects gay marriage advocates in the Phelps family. There's a reason the Founding Fathers made it the first thing they wrote. They were fine with fucking slaves, though. And I actually mean they were fine with actually fucking slaves and the concept of slavery. So, first thing they wrote. So, Sean, as long as you're going to call yourself an American, you have to accept that some people are going to keep calling Hugo Chavez a dictator even in death. Freedom works both ways, douchebag. Alright, how long have I been recording? 48 minutes. Fuck it, I'll finish off this page. Or actually, fuck, alright. Now I'll end it there, because I don't want to have to read another fucking, 2-page diatribe against Jason Lewis, because that's where we're stopping. We're stopping at Jason Lewis. Who I honestly don't know who the fuck that is. But anyway, ta-ta, everybody. Have a wonderful day, and fuck Warcorpse. And I mean that figuratively, not literally. Although I don't think I needed to say that, because nobody would touch Warcorpse with a 10-foot fucking pole. So, ta-ta.